Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. I'm very excited today because I have the lovely Anna May on, who is going to come and talk to us about mindset and manifestation. So, Anna is a mindset and manifestation coach who is dedicated to helping ambitious individuals to break free from those limitations and step into their full potential. And we're going to dive into a little bit on chronic pain because I know that's something that Anna has suffered with as well. And we're just going to look at her journey and see how you can start using manifestation in your daily practices and basically transform your life. So, Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's lovely to be here.
Very excited to have you. Can you just
Yeah.
tell our listeners a bit about you, your background, how you got started into manifestation?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course, Jackie. Thank you. So I'm 49. I'm a mum of two teenage boys who are 16 and 17, married and living in Wiltshire. And I actually came across manifestation. I think it was around about 2010, so almost 15 years ago now, actually. And it was one of those moments where I met this lady at networking. We got on really well, and she introduced me to the concept of cosmic ordering. And I just found it so exciting because she explained it to me like it is like ordering from this huge Argos in the sky. And I was like, I like the sound of that. I was like, I think I may choose John Lewis rather than Argos, but I was like, I love the sound of this. So I started practicing it, and just initially was just kind of like I almost saw it like a bit of a hobby, and I would try things out. And it just grew and grew from there. And then throughout my life now, I have transformed so many things in my life, and always used manifestation as a huge part of that and as a process of that. So I'm now in a position that I am super grateful that I am able to help other people. And my business, which I run, which is an academy, it's a mindset and manifestation academy, helping people in midlife see that actually they have the power within them. It's come from a really beautiful organic place of me kind of going on my own journey, is so often the case with all of us, isn't it? It's that
Yeah.
the things that we learn along the way, the dark times, the shadow work, the things that we've had to go through. For me, it was about then turning all of that pain into purpose, and then being in a place now where I can help other people with it.
I love that. And I think you talking about the shadow work there, I did an episode, my latest episode actually talks about how being in that rock bottom moment is actually a really beautiful place to start. And at the
Yeah,
time when you're in that state, you can't see a way out, can you? Like you feel like
yeah,
everything's crumbling around you, but actually it's a really good opportunity for you to reset because the only way you can go from there is up. And like you say,
absolutely.
so many people start their sort of spiritual journey in that moment.
Yeah, and I really think we have to go through that, and that place for me was one of pain. So I experienced chronic pain for most of my adult life. It started when I was about 17, when my dad left. It was initially really sort of manageable, and I'd go to the osteopath regularly, and it started in my back. And then as I got older and older, it just transcended into headaches and neck pain and shoulder pain, constantly on medication, and paracetamol and codeine. And as I got older, then I started using wine to kind of numb the pain as well. And I was really masking, so it was exhausting. So I was on the outside, this really positive, bubbly person, and inside I was absolutely crumbling. And I always refer to the analogy of where you're serene and calm on top, and underneath I was paddling like crazy. and
Yeah.
and the thing is because I was masking it, it was 10 times worse because I wasn't sharing how I felt, and I was literally hiding the pain from people, and that made it much harder. And it's really interesting because I look back now and I think my natural baseline frequency is quite high. I am naturally a positive person. I've always had a really sunny outlook, but that was actually really clouded by the pain. And anybody that's listening that has experienced chronic pain, you can be the most positive person in the world, but actually if you're waking up with a headache every day, it's pretty hard to stay high vibe and and feeling good, because actually you've got this black cloud over your head. And for me, that's how it felt. It felt like every day I was waking up with a black cloud of this pain. And I spent years and years and years, thousands of pounds on treatments. I was looking for a physical answer. I was looking for somebody to kind of swoop me up and go, this is what it is. You can have an operation, we can fix you, you can go on this medication. And I spent years trying to find somebody that would help me with that. And you know, we talk about the shadow work and the depths of despair. That came for me after having an MRI scan, and the surgeon just said, there's nothing wrong with you. And I walked out of the hospital in floods of tears. It was a really kind of poignant moment because I was so grateful that there was nothing seriously wrong. But the other part of that, I was like, so I actually feel like I'm going insane because I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And if I've got a surgeon saying there's nothing wrong with you, and no other practitioner can work out what's wrong with me, how on earth am I ever going to get through this? And I had an absolute breaking point, literally beside myself, sobbing. My husband and my boys were both sobbing as well, because I was like, I just don't know how I'm going to get through this because I don't know where else to turn for help. Nobody knows what's wrong with me. And I then, it was almost like that. I don't know whether I channeled this thought or what happened, but I suddenly thought the only thing that I haven't done is really looked at my mindset. And because again, it had been so clouded by the pain. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna stop looking for a physical cure. I'm gonna look for what's going on inside. And I started coaching, having therapy, having counseling. And the more I spoke about what was going on inside, the more I started to release that and let go, the more the pain started to go. And then I just went on this whole journey for about 2 years of, I call it like my mission of joy. I just every day woke up and said, my only job today is to feel good. And I just literally kept to that. So I did wild swimming nearly every day. I'd meditate, I'd go for long walks. I would literally stand in the middle of fields with my arms out in the, just saying, oh my God, I'm so grateful, feeling the sun on my face.
Yeah.
I just literally was chasing joy. And the more that I did that, the more that I started to heal, the more that I started to feel better. And then what it then did is it then gave me the clarity to be able to work out that actually I'd become caught in this loop, as I think so many of us are, of really negative language. And I wasn't affirming it to everyone else. So I think in my head, I thought, I'm not moaning, I'm not telling people I'm in pain, I'm not being a victim. But actually, internally, I was, if that makes sense. Because internally, every day, I was saying, I'm in pain. Oh my God, my head's killing. Oh, I feel dreadful. Boys, please be quiet. Mum's got a headache again. So I was constantly affirming pain, and it
Yeah.
was on a never ending loop in my brain. So kind of when I started doing all this work, I could take a step back from that and realize that actually that is what I was doing. And I was keeping myself trapped in this like cycle of pain, which was exhausting,
Yeah.
absolutely exhausting. And I have to say, the one thing that transformed everything for me was wild swimming. And I know so many people are into it now, but I committed to, I went for a month, I went every single morning. I'd get out of
Oh
bed
my
at 6
gosh.
o'clock and I'd go to the lake and I would swim for an hour and I would repeat affirmations non-stop for an hour whilst I was swimming. And I'd be saying things like, I am strong, I am brave, I am healing, I am courageous, I am pain-free, over and over and over and over and over. And over that month, by the end of that month, I cannot even begin to tell you the difference because it was like I drowned out all of that negative
Yeah.
self-talk and had 30 hours basically continual
Yeah.
of me like rewiring my subconscious mind and me rewiring my brain. And the thing is with swimming and being in the lake is that naturally that pain eases anyway because obviously the water's holding you and water, as we know, is so magical.
Yeah.
Um, and it's healing in itself, isn't it? So actually the water combined with the affirmations, it was life changing,
Oh my
absolutely
God.
incredible.
You're making me want to go and do wild swimming now. I
It's
never thought I would say
crazy.
that.
I know most people say that, and I was literally the person that I was like, I put my toe in the swimming pool, and I'm like, oh, it's really cold. But and I haven't been for ages. But actually, I also truly believe that actually we, that's what I needed right then. I needed that
Yeah.
intensity of going every day and becoming absolutely addicted to it to help me get through that place. So, I go every now and then, but actually, I don't. I don't need it as much actually as I did then. So
Yeah.
I think it's finding the modality as well, isn't it, that we need in that moment, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, that whole rewiring your thought patterns um must have been like literally what changed everything for
Yeah,
you, because like you say, you're
absolutely.
just reflecting back to you those thoughts, those things that you're saying to yourself are just reflected back to you. And it's the same. I was
Absolutely.
talking to someone the other day who has a what the school would call a naughty child. And
Yeah.
obviously that child hears all the time, you're naughty. Oh, you're
Yeah,
really naughty. So go and do this, you're naughty. And the more that person, that child's hearing that, the more they're like, okay, I'm naughty, so I need to be
absolutely.
naughty.
Yeah. And then
Crazy.
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you say that because I was not long after kind of like the of me having this breaking point, the doctor prescribed me as having fibromyalgia. And anyone that's got fibromyalgia, it's a bit of a weird one because it's basically where they don't know what else it is. It's almost like they can't work out what else it is, so you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I know that people have different levels of it, and for some people it's absolutely crippling, and it was for me. And I was put on really strong painkillers, really strong medication. But it was really interesting because I started joining some support groups, and I thought, I'm not going to allow myself to adopt this identity. I've got two options now. I either go, I've got fibromyalgia, I've got to commit myself to a life of pain, or I go, no, I'm not going to take that diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that's what I chose. And it wasn't easy, and I'm not for 1 minute, diminishing people that have got it. But I chose in that moment to go, I'm not going to own that. I am going to find another way. And I have to say, in a way, what it did do, having the strong medication, like enabled me to clear the fog a little bit so that I could then try loads of other stuff. So I am grateful for that time in my life because whilst I didn't want to be on all this strong medication and tablets as well, it did allow me the time to kind of take a bit of a breather and I wasn't in agony every day.
Yeah.
But the more work that I did over the years, I just saw that there was such a correlation between our mind and our body.
Yeah.
And, the way that I look at it is that actually what is going on in our mind most of the time is what is manifesting physically in our body. And, disease is our body not at ease. And yet we are always searching for a physical cure when actually most of the time it's connected to what's going on in our head.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So true. So with manifestation, because a lot of people listening might be thinking, okay, manifestation is literally just saying you want something or you don't want something anymore, and then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
What would you say is the definition, or like how would you explain what manifestation is to someone totally new to it?
Yeah, so to people that are new in a basic way, I would say that it is all about turning your thoughts into reality. Um, but it isn't that easy. So, in the respect of absolutely, like you said, Jackie, it's not a case of sitting on a yoga mat and just saying, I want a Ferrari or I want this dream home. I want the love of my life to suddenly appear. Like that might happen. But actually, I see it like there's a lot of depth to manifestation for it to work. And the kind of thought behind it is that our thoughts emit a frequency and our thoughts create our feelings, which then create obviously our emotions, and then we are then vibrating at a frequency dependent on what we are emitting, and we are basically reflecting all of that back to us. So I explain it to people like, if you imagine you've got this big mirror in front of you, whatever you're putting out, it's literally being reflected back to you.
Yeah.
So if you are living in a state of fear, if you're living in a state of moaning all the time, of bitching about people, of gossiping, of like watching the news endlessly, of constantly having road rage, of just it's really low vibe energy. So you're emitting that frequency of this low vibe energy and it's literally coming straight back to you, which is why people then, when they're having a really bad day, it feels like more and more stuff's happening because actually unconsciously they are manifesting it and they are attracting more of it into their life because of
Yeah.
the frequency that they're on. So manifestation is then about becoming more aware of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions so that then you are emitting all the feel good emotions, so joy and gratitude and feeling in the flow and feeling calm and just being able to, I see it like being able to reframe your thoughts gradually so that you're choosing the next best feeling thought, so that gradually you're putting yourself into this more this frequency that's more attractive, and you're attracting things in at the same frequency. So that is it in a nutshell, but it does go deeper than that, because it isn't just about your thoughts, it's also about your energy, and it's about the beliefs that we're holding on to. Because actually, you could have positive thoughts, you could sit and meditate, you could feel like you're doing all the stuff. But if you've got deep rooted beliefs that you are not enough, that you are not worthy, that money's really hard to make, you're always going to be blocking yourself.
Yeah.
So it's, if that makes sense, it's kind of like a surface level manifestation, but actually to really truly manifest, we need to do that inner work and dig a bit deep, do the shadow work, do all, find it, get curious. That's what I always say to the people that I teach. Get really curious about stuff when it comes up, rather than being afraid of these fears and things. Get curious about why you've got them. And it's just really working through all of those beliefs, learning to let go of them, because the more you can let go of them, the easier it is to attract more. So I see it like we're this beautiful vessel that should be full of abundance and joy and gratitude, but actually it's full. We're packed full of worry and anxiety and stress and old beliefs and negative self-talk. So we're trying to attract abundance, but abundance is going, I can't fit in. You're full.
No
You're
room.
full. You're literally, I'm so visual. That's how I see it. It's like, but you're full. You're full of all the crap. I've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to go, actually, I'm going to start gradually like emitting that. So I'm going to get rid of those negative beliefs. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to change that negative self-talk. I'm going to start being kinder to myself. I'm going to start speaking to myself in a more positive way, because then we're clearing and we're making space, and we're allowing abundance and joy and gratitude and all the good feelings to come into us. So that's the way I like to see it. Like we're this vessel that we need to learn to clear in order for all the good stuff to come in.
I love that analogy. So good. Um, I guess one thing that is really interesting to talk about is this is going to be different for every single individual, isn't there? So
Yeah,
I know that, like, as an example, a lot of the courses, programs I've been in myself, where we've talked about affirmations, mindset, all of that kind of surface level stuff, whilst it has helped some people, for other people, myself included, there's been such deep rooted
yeah,
limiting beliefs, and sometimes even generational, like beliefs that have been passed down from generational or past lives.
yeah.
And I think it's one of those things, like manifestation is one of those things, like you say, being really just testing with it, just experimenting, seeing what's coming up for you. But it's going to be different from person to person, isn't it? So there's not going to be
Absolutely.
one, this is how you manifest. It will be different from each individual.
Yeah, and it's so true. It absolutely will, because I think if there's people that have not really been through too much trauma and, in their life, then probably it would be much easier to manifest, because they haven't got all that stuff holding them back. But those of us that have been through things, and we have to work through that deeper work, it is going to be a bit of a deeper journey, I guess. But I always then reflect back to the fact that I see this, and I am spiritual, as I know you are, Jackie, but I see this like this is our soul's purpose. And actually, we've chosen this path. So, as much as sometimes it might be really hard to see that in the heavy moments, we have chosen this path, and we've chosen to be here to learn and to grow and to evolve and to change it. That's why I love doing this work, because I think it's really dark and it's really heavy sometimes, working through old beliefs, but actually I'm here to show up for my kids and for my grandkids, and I'm that generational chain breaker that is prepared to do the work and
Yeah.
say no more. And I want to change the trajectory of my generation to come. So I think that's it. I think we're all here on a different mission. We're all here with different traumas. We're all here with different experiences, but the more that we can put a spin on that and look at that rather than falling into this victim consciousness, that we're going, maybe this is all meant to be. Maybe, just maybe, I was meant to experience that, to be able to help other people with that. I remember having my first therapy session, being in absolute floods of tears and saying to my therapist, there is a reason for this. I absolutely know within my soul there is a reason that I've spent all these years in pain. I am not going to waste that. So I think it's always about our perspective of it as well. And we can choose to wallow, we can choose to stay in that victim consciousness, or we can choose to turn our pain into purpose and go, okay, this might be much harder for me than other people that have had it quite easy. But actually, it goes back down to when you have experienced those depths of despair, I think you almost appreciate the high times even more so then, don't you?
Yeah.
You really do. And I think so many of us that are empaths that really feel things, that's almost like that's our mission here, is to have felt the depths so that we can then really appreciate the highs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we talk about the lows as well and that shadow work, it literally is like our bodies are just, they're making us stop. It's like they've been getting all the signs and everything. And actually, it gets to a point where you're trying to force something or
Yeah,
you're so out of alignment that your body just gets to a point where you're like, no, you have to stop now. And that might show up
absolutely.
in things like pain or
Yeah.
just something happening in your day that's just literally makes you stop.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, I always believe the universe is sending us signs and signals constantly. And if we choose to ignore it and ignore it and ignore it, it will take us, it will knock us down because it will go, you are not listening to me. I told you to slow down. I told you that wasn't meant for you. I mean, I've got an incredible example of that. A few years ago, I've been self-employed for like about 15 years, but a few years ago, I thought, actually, I've got a bit more time. I could go and get some part-time work. And I ended up getting this job. I was really unhappy. I was being bullied. It was quite a toxic environment, and I felt really out of alignment, massively so. And I went on holiday, and I kept pushing through, thinking I can do this. I'm strong. I can do this. I'll put up with this. Went on holiday, ended up having an massive emergency operation on holiday. Um, it was at the time very traumatic, very horrific, very scary. But I was then off work for 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, it changed my life because it gave me the opportunity to reflect. It was then that I started my coaching business and doing retreats and workshops because it gave me that chance to go, what am I doing? Like, why am I in this environment that isn't making me feel good?
Yeah.
And I came back off that sick leave and handed my notice in, and the rest is history. I then started my coaching business, and sometimes I think, wow, would I have done that at that moment in time if I hadn't have gone through that? I
Yeah.
might have just kept going for longer, but it's like the universe was going, you are not listening to me. I'm literally going to throw this massive curveball, so you have to stop. So you have no option but to stop and be still. And I think that's what happens sometimes is that we keep going on that treadmill. We're so busy all the time because we're too scared to admit the truth to ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of thinking of the opposite end of the spectrum in actually manifesting and creating that vision board, like
Yeah.
imagining what it is that you do want, how do you know what is right for you? Like, as an example, you see so many entrepreneurs that are like, I'm manifesting the dream house, I'm manifesting the car, and all this stuff. But actually, that might not be in alignment to a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I think I always talk about this in the work that I do. I always say to people, for me, my vision has always been a big, beautiful Cotswold home with a swimming pool. Like I've had that vision since I was really young. But for other people, it might be a two-bed terrace by the sea with 6 cats. Like, and that is just as beautiful, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
that's right for that person. So what I always get people to do is to think about like their perfect day and not compare it to somebody else's. It doesn't have to be a luxury lifestyle. It is like, if you could wake up in the morning, how would you want to feel? Like just at peace and calm and by the sea and,
yeah,
no worries. And like, so it's very individual and it's very about, I really help people sort of tap into that feeling rather than just the material. I want this and I want that. It's like actually the most important thing is how do you want to feel? Because most of us, if we're really honest, we want to feel light, don't we? We want to
yeah,
feel at peace. We want freedom. We want health. Like you don't need to be a millionaire to have all of that stuff. But equally, I always think you're not greedy if that is what you want. So it's very individual. It really
yeah.
is.
And it's so interesting as well. So, obviously, most people listening to this are business owners,
Yeah,
entrepreneurs themselves. And I think so often we can get very stuck in that, okay, I just want to manifest. I want to have more clients. I want to have more
yeah,
money. But actually, that's not what you want. It's the feeling that you're going to have once you have achieved those things. It's that freedom.
absolutely.
It's that oh my God, I don't need to stress anymore. Like I'm in flow, and it's that alignment piece, isn't it?
It is absolutely, and I think that's why it's so crucial that we are tapping into the feeling rather than the outcome or the money. And you know, as you and I know, Jackie, it's we're humans and we get caught in that, don't we get
Yeah,
caught in that chasing and chasing and chasing energy, but actually when we're doing that, all we're doing is repelling. So we do need to, I think all of us remind ourselves that actually we do need to take a step back. We need to reflect on actually what is really important to us, because I think, and I've realized this personally myself, I think for so much of my life I was sort of chasing, and then I got to a point and thought, actually, what I do really want is that freedom and that security and that feeling of being able to wake up and go, I can do whatever I want today. And, you know, money is no worries. And I have got a beautiful house and I've got all that gorgeous stuff, but actually, it's the feeling.
yeah,
And I think that is what we always have to come back to. And I think the thing is with that as well is really learning to trust ourselves and asking ourselves, how does it feel? And trusting, using our body as a guide. You know, how am I feeling right now about this? Because that's what we ignore. And that's then when we're stressed and we're overwhelmed, or we're in the job that we hate, or we're in the relationship that we hate, because we're getting these feelings within our body and we're just ignoring them. And
yeah,
then that's when it manifests in pain and all of these things and stress. But actually, we need to slow down, don't we? We need to
yeah,
slow down and just be more reflective of what we want, how we want to feel, and then everything starts flowing in.
yeah. And it's just that alignment piece, isn't it? It's really
Yeah.
about being in alignment with you. So I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and I'm a generator. So like I've got that and that supply of energy where I can constantly be on the go. I'm not really the sort of person that can sit on a beach all day long.
Yeah.
Like I want to be doing things.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this person about things that I'm working on at the moment, like my book, my group off, and my rebrand. And she was like, "Oh God, that sounds like you've got loads going on. Like I don't know how you fit it all in." But then when I responded, I was like, "But I've never had more freedom in my
Yeah.
life, like
Yeah.
than what I have now. Like actually, although I'm a generator and I'm doing things all the time, I'm filling my day doing things that actually is about balance, is about
Yeah.
going for that walk, going outside and getting the fresh air, and not filling my day with client work after client work. And yeah, it's
Absolutely.
just really beautiful when you actually reflect on that and you
It
know,
is.
okay, I am in alignment now.
Yeah, and I think that's what alignment is, isn't it? It's being in the flow, and you can still. I'm the same as you. I'm a generator. I love being on the go. I'm always getting new ideas, and I love being busy. And and I found since setting up my academy, it's a different energy. Like I
Yeah,
love it, and I wake up in the morning and I'm inspired, and I'm helping people, and I'm making a difference. So I am actually working really hard, but it's a very different energy to being in a corporate job where I'm working really hard. You know,
yeah,
it's a very, very different energy. But I think we don't allow ourselves to tap into that, and we just force it, don't we? We force so much, and we being in alignment is absolutely everything. Interestingly, somebody asked me recently, actually, which I thought was a really good question. They said, you know, how do you know whether you are out of alignment or you're just procrastinating? And I was like, that's a really good
that is a good
question, isn't
question.
it? Because sometimes we're a bit like, maybe I just can't do this. And, you know, am I not supposed to be doing that? And I said to him, do you know what? It all goes back to trust. It all goes back to you developing that like radical self-trust with yourself, that you can tap into how you're feeling in your body. Because I'm like, if you actually sat and asked yourself, you know, for example, if you run in your own business and you've got something to do, you would know in your absolute heart and your soul whether you want to do that thing or whether it's forced. But it's allowing yourself to admit it is the hard bit, right?
Yeah.
So you know, there's some things that you're going to be procrastinating because you just actually don't want to do it. And
Like
some
the lovely tax return, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. And there's always going to be things, isn't there? And like I always say to people, you've got to keep this real. You know, this isn't about living a life where you don't do any of the things that you don't want to do, because we've got to do this shit, haven't we? You know,
Yeah.
we've got to do the school run, we've got to take the dog for a walk, we've got to make dinner that's so boring when you're like, what am I going to make tonight? You know, we've got to do the tax returns, we've got to do all the boring financial stuff, we've got to do all of that stuff. But the way I look at it is we live this real life where we've got all these things going on. they're not out of alignment, they're just stuff that we have to do, right? But it's making sure that the majority of the things in your life that you are in control of, that they are in alignment with you, and that you're trusting yourself that they're in alignment. And if it doesn't feel good, get really curious about why it doesn't feel good, and then allow yourself to pivot and allow yourself to go, actually, this maybe this doesn't serve me anymore. Because I think we get so trapped, don't we? We feel like, but I've been in this job for 10 years, so I should carry on. I've been in this marriage for 20 years, so I should stay. Actually, but do you want to? There's a real difference. You know, should energy is not a good energy, because if we feel like we should do something, normally we're not doing it from our true soul and we're doing it for other people, really.
I love that. That is a really good way to end this episode, actually.
Ah, thank you so much, my darling.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Anna. How can everybody find you? I'll obviously pop your links in the show notes below, but let us know like where's the best place to connect with you.
Amazing, thank you. So I am active on Facebook. So my name is Anna, my surname is May, and I'm on Instagram as well at Anna E May. And then my website is nice and easy. So it's just annamay.co.uk.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for coming on today, Anna. It's been lovely having
My
you on the
pleasure.
show. If you've enjoyed this episode, guys, please do reach out to Anna and myself. Let us know what you thought and do leave a 5-star review with your feedback. We would love to hear it. But I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you again, Anna, and I will see you on the next episode.
Amazing. Thanks, Jackie.